No, Brett. Facebook was removed from Facebook yesterday for failing to violate Facebook's community standards. That was the problem, apparently, is their community standards aren't strict enough for them to be removed from themselves.
You know, something feels different.
I moved the microphone. It's over here now.
Oh, they can see me.
You can see the top of the microphone.
I can see me in the playback monitor.
Hey, groovy. There you are. What's up, gentlemen? I see, David Seaver. That's...
Good morning.
I know that name. I think I know who you are. But anyway, Steve, the roadie, once again, drawing first blood. Steve says voices are pretty balanced. That's good.
Well, since the microphone's right in between the middle of us, I hope so.
Well, and I mean, for the microphone to be dealing with balancing our voices against one another is impressive because, I mean, we're marginally divergent characters.
Not divergent enough for Hollywood, though. No. Gamers are familiar with what happened.
No, have a wife.
I had one.
More.
I mean, not anymore, but I had one. I have 4 kids as proof, buddy.
Yep. Joe Doe Yo.
So it's my understanding what happened with Facebook, though, was a DNS. Like, it's the same thing.
It should have been a DNR.
Oh. I follow Hotep Jesus on Twitter, and he tweeted all day yesterday about how, like, if this could just last for, like, a week or two, worldwide depression rates would, like, plummet. Because people would have to...
Oh, I mean, that's the whole reason Facebook got back up and running. You know, the vaccine gods realized that, oh shit! Our Xanax subscriptions are deteriorating. It was instantaneous. So like, whoa. We got to get the Quaalude futures back up, guys. That's right. I said Quaaludes.
1979 called it. Wants its party drugs back.
I'm actually not that old. Hey, Rose is with us. Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. So yeah, Facebook was down for like 8 or 9 hours yesterday. Something like that.
And it had nothing to do with the whistleblower.
Well, okay, so as far as the ultimate Karen, the Facebook Karen, whatever we want to call her, I don't think... I mean, it's funny to make the joke that it's related to her, but I don't think that's what it is at all. I did a little bit of reading on it, and it looks like what happened...
I think we should call her Frau Haugen.
Maybe, but I think what happened is... what happened to Facebook is the same thing that has plagued gamers ever since games went online, and it's basically you run a program that attempts to log into a server so many times the server just goes no.
Diablo 3 comes to mind.
Exactly.
Okay, for those of you that are not big nerds, we played the original Diablo when we were teenagers, and it was amazing.
Then we played Diablo 2.
It was everything we loved about tabletop pencil and dice role-playing games turned into a video game, so we didn't have to try and organize a frickin' party with snacks and drinks and everything, and everybody trying to take time off. You just sit down and play the game every now and then. It didn't have to be a scheduled once-a-month thing anymore. That was amazing. Diablo 2 took that to a whole new level, and then Diablo 3 was announced.
Mm-hmm.
And 12 years later...
I don't think it quite took 12 years, but your point stands.
Yes. I was first seeing trailers for Diablo 3 when I was still at Goodfellow. That was 2008. It was released in 2012.
That's 4 years. That's not 12 years. That is 4 years. Don't do that Democrat math. Don't do that. Do Republican math.
Wow, was it that... Anyway, it took way longer than it was supposed to. And then when it released, Like, it's the only game I've ever pre-purchased, and I only pre-purchased it by about 5 or 10 hours.
Right.
Right. I pre-purchased it the day before release so that we could play at midnight because it just happened to come out. It happened to be releasing like a week after I got out of the Army, and I had nothing better to do with my time. And my brother-in-law and I were going to play the shit out of that. It crashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't mean the game crashed. No. The game on my machine didn't crash. I'm sure it would have run just fine. Nobody got to play the game. Well, that's what happened to Facebook.
Yeah, apparently.
Everybody lost the game at the same time. And
now everybody lost the game. You bastard.
you're welcome.
But anyhow, we only really use that as a springboard to talk about the Facebook Karen that went on 60 Minutes.
God. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about Frau Frances Haugen, the suspiciously Aryan-looking propaganda czar from Facebook, whose whistleblowing extends to they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
They're not doing enough to censor you.
Yeah, it's not that Facebook is doing too much censorship.
Basically, her complaint is that Facebook doesn't have an armed enforcement wing that can go out and execute you at your computers if you laugh at a joke.
Oh my God, I want to see your manager. There's not enough censorship on this platform. I want my meal for free. You already get Facebook for free, you dumb bitch. Anyhow.
Oh. And they don't have a picture. They don't have a picture on the CNN article, do they? How do you not have a picture of this bitch on this article? You're CNN. That's right. You're wholly inadequate.
Yes, but not wholly, just inadequate.
Oh, with a wubbia.
With a wubbia.
You know, like East Germany.
Yeah.
Wubba wubba. Wubba woo.
So, look, no, I'm not getting distracted. We have to talk about the Karen.
Wubbies.
You almost lost thousands of dollars worth of computer equipment. You can't do that when I'm drinking my coffee.
Wubbies.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm going to set to testify in front of a U.S. Senate subcommittee on Tuesday. That would be Onoran, today's CO. And here's what we know about her so far. She's a commie. That's what we know about her so far. She is a commie.
Is she really a commie, or
Yes.
is she just a Karen with a corn cob so far up her ass if you microwave her face, popcorn comes out?
She's a pro-concentration camp, pro-censorship, pro-propaganda Aryan demanding increased government.
Yeah, but the Venn diagram with the Karens has a lot of overlap there, buddy. She could just be a self-entitled bitch.
Hey, Your Majesty! I figured you'd be driving by this hour, because, the roads and all. But good to see you this morning. We've missed you.
Yeah, and we're gonna tread some of the ground that our buddies at Polytech did last night.
Yes.
Great show, by the way, but it's the kind of thing we would talk about anyway. And one of the things they point out, and this is huge, this is a woman that uses the term hate speech unironically.
Yep.
Okay? And anytime you hear the hate speech thing, you know you're dealing with, at best, this is your best case scenario, a mental midget. Okay? Like, that's what you're dealing with.
Yes.
You're dealing with somebody that does not understand that hate speech is just speech. Okay?
Right, and it's one thing to say that something is hateful speech, that somebody is saying something that conveys hate, right? That's one thing. But when you hear somebody use that specific term, hate speech, especially in the context of Frau Haugen demanding additional censorship, what's happening here is she is a person who is arguing that laws should exist to limit your speech because some of your speech she finds offensive.
She finds offensive.
And that's an important distinction. And more importantly than that being an important distinction, that distinction that she finds it offensive we see examples in Canada most especially. You know, them Canadians up in Canada.
Right.
Their hate speech laws basically run such that, and they have hate speech laws. If you are in office, if you are the party in power, you get to determine what is hate speech. So you have to understand that somebody like Frau Haugen here, she does not believe that exterminating babies for pure convenience and saying that that is morally good, she doesn't think that's hate speech. She doesn't think that referring to unvaccinated people as plague rats is hate speech.
Even though there's some really anti-Semitist overtones in referring to an entire group of people as vermin. But I'm just going to ruminate in Weimar Republic.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that no, it's not that it's anti-Semitic.
I said anti-Semitic overtones. I didn't say it was directly anti-Semitic.
Okay. We can argue the Semitics of that at another time.
The Semitics of being anti-Semitic. Okay. Stop. We're two dads with 4 kids, and there's a lot of...
I can syntax pun all day. So...
The dad jokes are strong with this. So the kind of things she would find offensive would be chanting like, "Let's go, Brandon." "Let's go, Brandon."
So, right, exactly. I mean, to say that demanding more infanticide... She would say that demanding more infanticide is not hate speech, but to say that it's wrong to have your little boy dressed as a girl and stripping on a stripper pole for cash in New York City, she would say that calling that wrong is hate speech. She would say that insisting that a person who wants to molest my children, she would say that my saying that person should be incarcerated indefinitely for the safety of my children, that's hate speech, right? That's the kind of people you're dealing with. What they are demanding when they're demanding hate speech censorship is just pure censorship.
Yeah, they want the ban hammer.
And let me take it. I'm going to actually take this to the abortion argument for a minute, because I already touched on my pro-life status a little bit. The pro-abortion, the pro-infanticide crowd, they like to, their first and last line of defense is, well, what about the health of the mother and rapes? Health of the mother cases, which I don't need to spell that argument out so much right now, but health of the mother cases do not exist. Statistically, they are non-existent as a viable reason to commit infanticide. Rape cases are statistically... There are more rapes than I would like there to be.
Right, obviously.
And I'm firmly comfortable with actual rapists getting the death penalty. And I mean, I would be happy to personally enforce that with my toaster and a bed sheet. The beauty of that weapon is it just gets more effective the more you use it.
Yes. Well, it gets heavier because it accumulates debris.
It accumulates debris, infection, as the toaster suffers more and more damage. It develops sharper edges.
I know I'm tracking.
It just gets nastier and nastier. Anyway.
Till the bed sheet rips. But there's too many rapists, right?
They will argue that, well, we need abortions for people who have been raped or...
Incest
or life of the mother.
Which statistically represent, and we've gone over
the
this.
sum total of all of those generously represent less than 5% of all abortions. So what's happening there is they're making the argument for an extreme case to justify recreational abortion. And that's what the goal is. Their end goal is recreational post-birth abortion subsidized by taxpayer dollars. Full stop. That is the goal. Every argument made for rape, life of the mother, is made to support through sophism post-birth, recreational, taxpayer-subsidized abortions with maximum probable frequency.
Yeah,
Most especially in minority communities, because let's not forget, just like Frau Haugen, we're talking about eugenicists.
yeah, Margaret Sanger was a racist eugenicist. Like, the y'all can go ahead and keep that one on a pedestal. Please do.
Yeah. But, stop laundering your money through that.
See,
Oh.
part of the problem here, and this is one of the things that really makes the point, is this is all one-sided censorship, and it's all based on an emotional space. I follow the Kissing Fish on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, not because I am a fan of the Kissing Fish, but if the enemy's going to broadcast its intentions, well, I'm going to tune in a radio and check it out every now and then. And the Kissing Fish is progressive Christianity. And then at the same time, the Kissing Fish will say, oh, there's no such thing as political ideology. Maybe it's not on Twitter. Maybe it's Instagram. But anyhow, that could be it. Nope, might just have to be Facebook. But the point is that the Kissing Fish spreads a lot of liberal, progressive, socialist propaganda on Facebook, and there's a meme that the Kissing Fish is pumping real hard right now that says that if we did a 0.3%, not a 3% tax, but a 0.3% tax on the top 10%, it would fund the entire $3.5 trillion bill that the left is trying to point out. Now, look, y'all. Look, let's be clear. The entire fucking U.S. economy is hovering at around $23 trillion right now. Okay? So, 0.3%, I can't do the math right off the top of my head, but I promise 0.3% of the top 10% of that is not quite $3.5 trillion. I guarantee you this chick doesn't have a problem with that kind of stuff being spread around.
Well, it's only a 1 penny special provisional local optional sales tax to
Don't ever vote for a
roads.
splost. Don't ever vote for a splost.
It'll go away as soon as we fix the roads. And then your road doesn't get fixed, Rockdale County. And the splost doesn't go anywhere, Oz Nesbitt. Get your shit together, you lying burger.
Yeah, it's one of the only times I ever had an argument with my now ex-mother-in-law, who I loved a lot, by the way. I'm not talking smack about this woman. But at one point in time, the county that I lived in was thinking about doing a splost. And she was like, oh, we could do all this with the money. And I'm like, yeah, but no.
Forever.
Yeah, but first of all, forever. That is correct. That splost will never go away. And second of all, that's not what's going to happen with the money. And third of all, I don't think I'm ever going to vote for me to pay more taxes. And I am not ashamed of that at all.
Well, it's only 1 penny. Okay, so it's $100 every time you buy a large screen. It's another $100 when you want to go buy a large screen television, right? It's another $3,500 when you buy a new car. It's
that's a $350,000 car there, buddy.
You're right. It's another $350 when you go and buy a new car. It's
more money.
Yeah, and it could be 37 cents when I buy a new car. That was my 37 cents, and I want it.
Amen. And we're guys that paid 80 cents a gallon when we first started driving. So paying things by the cent is a thing that used to happen. But the point that I'm driving at is, this woman only wants the censorship to go one way. Because if you go back and you watch the pull quotes, and I did from the 60 Minutes interview, she talks about, I lost a friend to being radicalized, or some foolishness. Now, she doesn't say that, I lost a friend who, joined a Facebook group that encouraged you to do DMT and they overdosed and died. And I'm not saying you can overdose on DMT. I'm just using it as a, pull it out of your ass example.
What she means is that her friend decided that it's my body and it's my choice and I will not tolerate your government mandate that I inject an unwanted substance against my will.
And that's really what it is. You lose friends online. You lose friends online, typically, if you're us, or if you're a dick, which also us. But I remember, man, and it's been years now, but I remember being shocked. It was probably a decade or so ago. It was while Obama was still in office. How many of my friends and family that I never knew had certain political leanings before suddenly were posting pro-conservative or at least somewhat moderate things on Facebook? It's like, that's one of the things, that's when it really occurred to me, we are not a center-left country. We are not a majority-left country. We're a center-right country, and here it is all over Facebook. But you know who makes the most noise, who blows things up the most? It's the left. They're the ones that get the virtue signal. They're the ones that, like, I've never seen one of those, you know, the Now This videos?
Yeah.
Right? I've never seen a Now This video about a pastor who, like, prayed his way through cancer. Never seen a Now This video about that. But I have
Never seen a Now This video about the church that was still standing after the bomb fell or something like that. Yeah.
That's right. But I've seen plenty of Now This videos about the 13-year-old black girl that decided to be the first one in the state of West Virginia to do a thing. I have seen those. And I have seen... So...
Okay.
That's the space that all this operates in.
Well, and let me get back to why I even brought up the abortion point. We took a sharp turn off of that. Let me just back up that point real quick. The point that I was making when they make the argument for rape or life of the mother, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're arguing for all post-birth recreational abortion, taxpayer funded. So when you hear one talking about hate speech, like he said up at the top, the first thing you know is that at best you're dealing with a mental midget, somebody who's just unintelligible. But when they're arguing, well, we need to make stronger restrictions against hate speech. What they're arguing is to get that toe in the door for absolute, total, and complete censorship of anything you want to say that is contrary to the established, approved narrative. You will know, their objective is that you will no longer be able to say phrases like, even if healthcare is a natural human right, I still don't have to pay for yours any more than you have to buy my guns. Right? If healthcare is a human right, and that means the government should fund it, then I want my monthly ammo stipend.
I'll take a Mossberg.
You will not be allowed to say things like, you know, you'd be better off if you got a job.
You know, like with the modded out like buttstock and pistol grips that are all hollow, so you can stick like flares and matches and extra ammunition in, so you're just like a one-man walking zombie apocalypse.
You know, in the basic M16 that they issue to troops, the buttstock is hollow.
Of course.
You know what it's for, right?
Stuff?
A cleaning kit.
Okay.
You know what I always had in my buttstock while I was downrange?
What?
2 Cuban cigars.
Okay, fair enough.
And I will shamelessly admit it's because I loved the movie Independence Day, and I thought, you know what? I like that victory dance thing. I'm going to smoke a cigar after a firefight.
Yeah.
And that...
Why? Because you can.
I tell you what, man, that big old Cuban scrunched in your teeth, it makes it hard to run up a hill, a sandy hill. It's just
stop.
Under your
This
feet.
is about to go the wrong direction.
That's right. Keep my Skittles.
That joke is.
Good morning, Dave.
That was about to go way too dark, even for me, buddy. And I'm okay with some dark jokes.
I had a moment once.
So one thing I'd like to just kind of touch on before we go, because
we are getting there, aren't we?
Well, you want to talk about one of those things that the left would consider hate speech. Guys like you and I saying public restrooms are not the place for political experimentation.
Okay. And you know what? This is actually going to get a little bit into the... we're going to have to talk a little bit about the First Amendment auditor thing with this.
No, we don't. We
just
talk
a little
about
bit.
what happened.
Just a little bit. So these protesters chased Kirsten Sinema.
I think it's Kirsten. I
Kirsten
just know she's cinema, but it's spelled
Senator
way wrong.
Stripper Boots into a bathroom. And to her credit, she just kind of walked and ignored them and went into the stall, closed the door behind her, did her business, came back out, washed her hands, and walked away. You know, I feel terrible for the poor people who were in that stall. And
would she have washed her hands if the cameras were there?
I think. Okay, so
no, I'm sorry, my bad.
No. This is important because I've worked in facilities that serve the public, and I've worked as the low man on the totem pole more than once or twice, and like especially when I was working at Sonny's Barbecue, I have seen men's restrooms get nasty around the urinal where men we miss. Some guys are not qualified marksmen like I am. And so you'll get some pools and some drips and drabs, right? I used to make my privates go and scratch that shit off the toilets with a flathead screwdriver.
Right.
But I've never gone to clean the men's restroom and found shit sprayed up the walls. I've only ever seen that having to clean women's bathrooms, and more than a few times. So, I want to say that I expect women to be delicate and smarter than men, and to wash their hands after they've shat up the walls, but
look, the
evidence don't support it.
It was just a thought. My brain goes some odd places at times, but Anywho, cinema.
So, yes, we have a First Amendment right protecting free press. And no, you do not have an expectation of privacy in public. But her entering that bathroom, there is a place, especially... Okay, let's say they followed a male senator in there, and he chose to use the urinal, and there's not a stall for him to close the door. One might make the argument that that's a little bit different, because there's not a stall, and he could have chosen to use a stall instead of the urinal. But honestly, that is the big dick energy. I mean, if you follow me in the bathroom with a camera to interrogate me about my political policies,
try and intimidate you, right?
Right, yeah. I'm probably not going to use the urinal because you have shoes and they're just there.
Or just pee right in the sink.
I will just stand there. I will just stand there and piss on your shoes. I will just stand there and piss on your shoes.
No, I meant, Steve says no politician has that energy. I meant I have that energy. I didn't mean politicians have that energy.
Blazing Saddles, excuse me while I whip this out. But they followed her into the bathroom, and...
which, just to be clear, is creepy as fuck, okay?
So, and they're following her and they're demanding special provisions for criminal invaders. We need the Build Back Better plan. We need immigration reform so that these undocumented workers... No. But they're in there making radical demands and threatening, hey, we door knocked for you. We got you elected. We can get you unelected.
They got her elected.
Yeah.
From Arizona, no less.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of her votes came from Maricopa
So you've
County.
got these radicals chasing her in there. You've got this radical anti-American Marxist Karen, Frau Haugen, right? And let's not forget, like we mentioned yesterday, as far back as at least the 2016 election, we heard the staffers from the Bernie Sanders campaign talking about putting conservatives in gulags.
Literal re-education camps.
Yeah, literally in gulags, re-education camps, and actually demanding executions and firing squads. So here's what I need you to get your heads around and understand. Democrats are monsters, and their voters want them to be more evil than they are. Their voters are outraged because they're not adequately horrible monsters. They're actually demanding more evil, more abortions, more censorship, less freedom, more mandates, more taxes. They're actively demanding the disintegration of this country. And I want to touch on something real quick. Huh?
And the family unit.
And the family unit, absolutely. Yeah. And I want to touch on something real quick before we call it a day, and we're going to have to come back to this. There has been talk recently of secession. There are several states and there are several smaller groups. Huh?
Hate speech.
Yep. Well, maybe not so much. It looks like right now it is more popular it is a more popular conversation on the right, but it is a wildly popular conversation on the left. And here's the angle that I haven't heard anybody take yet. While there might actually be some good arguments for secession right now, maybe even draw a line right down the middle of the country and you just go right or go left. Let me ask you this question before you start thinking about whether or not you want to throw support behind secessionist movements. What do you think China and Russia are praying for? What do you think a secession movement does to our international standing? What do you think a secession movement does for our capacity to maintain a strong U.S. economy?
I don't know, man. If we chop off California, seriously, just like in a divorce scenario, it might actually be.
Well, yeah, that's a different thing, though. Like I've asked many times before. We understand secession is when your state chooses to leave the union. I want to know what the word is for kicking somebody out.
Well, see, okay, that's where I was going.
We should call it the San Andreas default line. I'm sorry.
Again, that's where I was going. Just like when parents divorce. I learned to swim down in Arizona Bay, okay? I got it. But just like in a divorce, okay, seriously, as long as we got to dictate the terms of the divorce, we could pay California child support for 18 years until they grew up and could take care of themselves. It would probably be cheaper and more practical. And as far as your question about, and this is also important as far as the terms.
We wouldn't have to pay it for very long because Mexico would just swallow them up as soon as they were actually hemmed off of the U.S.
Okay, but just like a divorce, there's all these different ways the divorce can happen. It would really depend, because you asked a question about China and Russia and all that. It's going to depend on the terms of the divorce, right? If it is a show of strength, the U.S. is tired of being a bunch of pussies, that is not segregation that China and Russia want to happen. But if the U.S. comes to the end of its rope and does segregation because they've run out of options...
You mean secession?
Yes. Secession. Whoops. Anyhow, the point being, but if it comes as a measure of desperation, we're at the end of our rope, and both sides are going to go through this bizarre form of austerity, and you've got like Brexit that just goes on and on and on and on. Okay, of course, that is what Russia and China would want. So, I don't know, it just depends. But
here's what we do. We get a shitload of bulldozers with 10, 20-foot tall blades, and we just park them right next to each other, right? North of L.A., like Steve says. And we say, okay, 20 years.
Did you watch that?
And every year, we just move forward 1/20th of the distance to the border.
Yeah. But we're long, and now we're definitely in hate speech territory. But hey, just one more time before we go, I really want to say this. Do you remember when right-wingers were saying public restrooms were not the place for political experimentation? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Y'all be safe out there. We'll see you tomorrow.